Hi everyone, this is Travis from the Berm Show. If you are a veteran or active military member and looking to connect with a fellow vet or service member in your area, then check out the new mobile app, Lower 22 Vets, available on Apple Store and Google Play. They also provide gifts and prizes to their subscribers. This month, they're giving away, believe it or not, a red dot site. How kick ass is that? Sign up is free and easy. Enter for your chance to win. Thank you. All right, cool. Yeah, so now we're going. Well, what's up, man? So how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. Yeah.
No, thank you for coming on. Obviously, it's the first time we've met, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So yeah, I kind of want to jump right into what branch you were in, and a little bit of background, where you're from, stuff like that. I saw you drinking out of a Bills cup, so I'm guessing you're a Buffalo Bills fan.
No, that's by default because of
Oh, okay.
spouse. Yeah. Yeah. That's by default. Yeah. She's from New York, so.
Oh, nice.
Um, but I'm from Florida. I was born and raised in Florida, in the Panhandle. So up in Destin, Florida, near Pensacola.
Okay.
Um, was it Eglin Air Force Base and Hurlburt are real big over there.
Yeah, that's where I did my A school actually. After boot camp, I went to Pensacola.
Yeah. Yeah. NES
Yeah.
Pensacola.
I don't remember what base it was, but it was a long time ago. But yeah, it was down there, and that was a neck of the woods.
Yep. That's where I grew up. We built a house there like 2000. Oh, no. It was 94. We sold it in 2004. But we built it from the ground up over on the bay. So it was super cool because I grew up fishing on the saltwater and then freshwater as well. So that was a blessing for sure. And I didn't really move away from that area until 2013. Late 2013. And then I came to Tampa, so I never left Florida.
Nice. Oh, is that where you end up being stationed, or?
No, I actually stayed. Come 2013 when I moved to Tampa, I stayed in Crestview, Florida, where there's like Duke Reserve Base, there's Army National Guard, 7th Group Special Forces. There's a lot over in that area, a lot of military. And I stayed reserve side and just stayed reserve side and would drive back every 3 weeks to that area. So it was a long drive, and it was probably not the best move, but I guess I got complacent a little bit, which is the opposite of our motto. But you get into a unit of guys, and you just get you like the vibe, and I mean, hey, it was weapons and explosives, so
Oh, that's pretty badass.
you gotta like that.
So is that in the Marines or Army?
No, it was Army.
Army.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Army.
Yeah.
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 I know it's funny because there's always that little Army and Navy banter. We always joke about, me and my Navy buddies, especially come college football season. It's one of those things you don't even realize you're becoming an allegiance or becoming a fan of Navy football or Army football. But it's like, man, that's the one game I know I got to watch every year.
Gotta move. Internet connection is a little bad.
No problem.
All right, yeah, that's okay.
But yeah, that's those games are always fun. I mean, always seem to gather around and watch those games now. But,
yeah, I've never watched an entire game all the way through. I played sports my whole life, but I never got into watching them.
That's how I've gotten over the years with certain sports. I only watch a few now, but Yeah, that's probably one of the few football games in college I'll actually watch, which is it's funny because I don't never really cared about Navy football
Yeah,
until I joined the Navy. So what?
yeah.
So what?
All my mom's side is out of West Point,
Mhm.
so they all played ball. From what I know, at least my cousin Bradley and his dad, they're from West Point, and my Colonel Pete, they're all military.
So you
So
got the strong family background, military.
all of them were Army, from what I know. Yeah, my
Oh
dad's
dang.
side, like my dad was Vietnam. I believe 2 tours Vietnam, heavy artillery, if I'm not mistaken, like 67, 68 Army. And then his dad was Army World War II, I believe, because I was adopted. And he is 74 right now, I believe. So, my parents are a bit older. And then my mom's side, I mean, every male was in the Army, from what I know.
Damn. So you almost felt like there was no choice, huh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
had to
that's
keep,
it.
I had to keep it up.
Yeah, it's funny because my family's basically the same on my mom's side. Like my grandpa, he was in the Navy. My great grandpa, his dad was in the Navy. I think his great uncle or my great uncle, his uncle was in the Army, I believe. And then my uncle, actually, my mom's brother, was in the Army also. Um, even like it's funny because growing up in like a house like that, I'm sure you could relate to. It was never really. Oh, my grandpa always talked about how much he loved it and the experiences and stuff. I guess like subliminally, it's getting stuck in your brain. You're like, okay, these messages like this
Right.
is something I want to do or almost got to do. That's what it felt like for me. It's like, man, I almost just feel obligated at this point.
Right.
Like if I do anything else, it's like, what the hell is he doing? So,
I think that was about the same for me.
so what type of experiences have you had in the Army? And you say you dealt with explosives and
Yeah.
stuff like
So
that. I'm sure you did some
actually,
cool
it
stuff.
was a kind of a funny story because I went to go Navy first. So I went Navy to a recruiter in Fort Walton Beach, and I think it was like 18, just turned 19, graduated like 5 months prior, and went into this petty officer's little recruiting deal in Fort Walton. Walked in, and of course, they finesse you the moment they walk in the door with kind words, and we went over everything. And I was very athletic and in shape. I skateboarded for a company. I surfed a lot. I played soccer, wrestled. A little bit of everything. So when I went in there for a PT, they're like, "Oh yeah, man, you're gonna be great. Why don't you do SEALs?" And I'm like, "Of course, this guy like this is the first thing they always go to. Like, let's be frogmen, just right off rip." And I was like, okay. Like, I was hard headed, angry. Like, I was like had this anger. We had a really strict upbringing, like extremely, and very um, religion based. So I had a little bit of built up anger, and so I was like, "That's it. Let's do it. Absolutely, let's go for it." So I went to what was it? The next day, I think I went to MEPS out in Louisiana, down there in golly, it was like in deep in the hood over in where Mardi Gras is at,
Oh, so
New Orleans area.
yeah, New
Uh,
Orleans down. Yeah, I feel bad not even knowing what it's called either. It's a Bourbon Street area.
yeah,
I'm
pretty
guessing
close
then.
to the
Yeah.
area. It's near one of the wards because I remember seeing like some real ghetto area. This guy walking a pit bull, and I was like, man, this is kind of a strange place for a naval base. He's like, no, that's pretty common. So I did like the ASVAB there, made it 80 something, and then did all the tests and urinalysis. Everything was good to go. Then we get back and he said, yeah, you're actually good to go for that MOS. I forget what the MOS was for SWIC. So I signed up for SWIC. And it was an 18-month wait before I even went to basic training.
Holy
And
cow.
then it was basic, and then your tech or A school, and then it was buds. So I was like, man, if I make it, it's going to be like 5 years before I'm even like situated. So about 4 years or so. So I was like, you know what? We'll see. So I worked, was hanging out with all my buddies, living the life that I felt like I missed out on for my whole life. I was like, let's make up for it and party and do all that good stuff that I missed out. So it went gradually downhill, and I was like, you know what? 5-6 months into it, and by the way, the petty officer gave me his crotch rocket. He gave me his Suzuki SV1000 motorcycle.
That sounds about Navy.
Yep.
That's some Navy stuff right there.
He said, I don't ride it. And I said, man, I don't have transportation. Like, I need to go to boot camp and get out of here. Like, I need to go. I'm not going to college yet. I need to go. I don't have a car right now. My truck broke down. He's like, hey, don't worry. I'll give you my motorcycle. It's new, and you can pay me back later when you get out of boot camp. I was like, man, that's going to be in 2 years. And he was like, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. So I was like, okay. So I took his bike, and of course it was like 1,000cc super souped and just like fast as all get out, especially for someone who's new on a bike. So I was like, this is not a good idea. But I took it 4 months into it, 5 months into it. Little bit of issues, I had a couple run-ins with law enforcement. They're like, man, you're hanging around a bunch of idiots. I'm in a small town. Everyone knows everyone. So he's like, hey, your name, you just got to watch out. If you're going somewhere, you need to go somewhere. And I was like, okay, all right. So my buddies that I grew up with, a couple of them ended up going to jail, actually. Just doing stuff. Yeah. Haven't talked to him since either. But so I ended up I was running one day, and I saw a Army recruiting office for combat engineers. So I walk up in there, and it was a unit. It was a reserve unit for combat engineers. I read on the front, and there happened to be a recruiter in there. And I was all sweaty with my shirt off, and I was perfect for a recruiter. He was like, oh, yeah, here we go. And he lapped me up good. He was like, oh, you come around here? Oh, yeah. Oh, you shoot at that range too? He's talking guns. And I said, yeah. He said, how fast did you run from Rainbow Lane, my sister's house, up here? I said, oh, I don't know, a couple minutes. He's like, really? How much fast did you run at 2 miles? I was like, pretty fast. He's like, all right, man, listen, I've got a slot for you, 12 Bravo, combat engineer. It is super cool. Showed me a video, sold me on it. And I'm like, guns and explosives? Yeah, man, sign me up. He's like, all the free ammo you want. So I went up to Montgomery, Alabama, to the MEPS there. And it took one day. We came back, and I think I was gone within 4 or 7 days of that day. They quit.
Damn, so Army was cranking you out then. Army was like, yeah, get this dude. Wow.
I was gone.
While you're lingering around with the Navy.
Right. I would have had another 1 year and 4 months roughly just to go to basic with the Navy. So I really didn't want to, because I was like, combat engineer Army or Navy special operations. It would be way cooler to be Navy, but maybe I'll pick that up later down the road. So I ended up getting quick shipped. I said, all right, do it. And they broke the contract some way, somehow. You know how recruiters work. And They broke that Navy contract, and I was gone. A week later, they quick shipped me, and I just missed it was like $5,000 sign-on bonus for combat engineers by weeks.
That sucks.
Because all the guys in my unit, once I got there, were like, oh, at least you got the sign-on bonus. I know, you got to embrace the suck for this job, but I'm like, sign-on bonus? Like, yeah. And I found out I was late to it. But yeah, I was going to be Navy, and then next thing you know, I was Army, just like that.
I'm sure your family was happy, though. They're like, oh, thank God he didn't become a squid,
Mm-hmm. Right, sitting on a ship 12 months out of a 4 year.
No, man, yeah, it's funny because my story is like I got to the Navy kind of the opposite way. So I was in high school. My last year of high school, my parents moved to Texas, and um, kind of like you always know it's gonna be in the military. So I talked to Army first. That's who I was talking to like the last maybe half the school year, my senior year. I did the practice ASVAB. I scored like a 70 something. They're like, oh, they're loving it. I told them, I was like, I want to be like a mechanic. I want to work like on tanks and Humvees or helicopters. I was like, that's what I'm interested in doing. And after I did that practice ASVAB, I never heard from him ever again. So I was like, I don't know. I remember I was like talking to my grandpa and stuff. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, that's what I wanted to do. And so I went down to the recruiting office. Um, what check out the Air Force, but I was like, Air Force is just, to anybody that's Air Force, let's be real, it's the Air Force. So I was like, never mind, don't want to do that. And then Coast Guard, their office was just closed, nobody was in there. So like, well, shit, I guess I'm going
Classic.
next door to the Navy. And kind of like you said, man, I walked in there, and I think he was a second class or first class petty officer. He was bald, all tatted up. He just jumped
Yep.
at the bit. He was like, oh, you want to join the Navy, huh? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't really know if I would have joined the Navy. It's like, I'm not hearing anything back from the Army, and they're right down the hall. So I was kind of like done with the Army at that point. But yeah, the same thing. He told my parents, because that I knew I was going to join even at 18. I was like, you guys can't tell me not to. But my mom was like freaking out about me joining the military. And the recruiter, he told my mom, he's like, oh yeah, in the Navy, it doesn't mean you're going to be on the ship. He's like, the chances are actually slim. He's like, I've been in the Navy for like 12 years. I've never even touched a ship.
Oh my God, please.
You know what I mean? It's like, I got stationed on the ship.
Right, exactly. Isn't it a mandatory like 12 months out of a 4-year contract you have to spend?
um, if I remember correctly, so they technically call it sea duty. So it's like 4 years on a vessel. I'm assuming it doesn't need to be just a ship. It could probably be submarine or smaller, like
Right.
ship or something like that. But 4 years on, and I think it's 3 years off. So you get shore duty after that, where you can work on a base or be a recruiter for 3 years or kick boots. I'm guessing, but I did one deployment, and it was about 10 months. It was a pretty good stretch of time there. Yeah, a whole year essentially.
Right.
Everything my
It's a
mom.
mob site, and once you get back, it's a full year.
Yeah, because when I got stationed on the USS Nimitz, when I got there, the ship was already, it had just came back from a deployment, so they were working on it, doing all the repairs, and that was like a year and a half or a year, something like that. And then we started doing all the sea trials, going slowly, building up for a deployment. Um, yeah, and then we were gone for like 10 months. I was like, man, it sucks. So I'm not. Deployments are rough. I mean, Navy, I feel like is more psychological, maybe than other branches. Maybe it's the same for other branches, but just from personal experience, I mean, you're just out on the water, out in the ocean, for these like long stretches and doing the same thing every single day. It gets kind of
Right.
like you don't see any land or lights, nothing's just water.
God,
It
you're out
starts
on the
messing with you.
water for 10 months?
Yeah, I mean, you hit ports and stuff, but
Ugh,
I think the longest stretch we had was like a month. Maybe
that
somewhere
sounds
on my
horrible.
deployment will correct it. Yeah, it was like a whole month or so without seeing any land. It was start like going crazy,
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where if it's better to be, in the army or something like that, and actually get a touch land and stuff, or not. But
Yeah, but the land that we touch is very explosive.
see, that's like you know, would I like to not have to experience that? Yeah. I mean,
It's
the
one of those
dangerous.
things. Yeah. Either way, like people will be like, because like when I got to my unit, it's a combat engineer unit during, I mean, 2009 all the way up to my contract ended of February of 18, but 2009 all the way up to freak like what 14 was nothing but war. I mean, with
Yeah.
IEDs, Taliban galore. That's all it was when I came in from basic to my unit, it was, I think, 3 months I waited in the rear det for them to get back from Iraq. And then 2012 to 13, my unit went to Zabul province, Afghanistan, southern province, for route clearance. And then they went, I want to say again, when I got out and I was on inactive reserve time, to like Africa in 16 or 17. So like, even as in the reserve side, you're looking at in that job every 2 to 3 years, unless you can jump ship, you can unit hop and go on deployments every year. You don't have to have that 12-month or 24-month R&R for the unit to, gain composure or whatever they call it, before you can go as a unit again. But in the reserves, you could, if you knew the right people, you could go every single year.
Are there people that do that? Like they just love being on deployment? They're just
Yeah,
all about it.
Sergeant Buhan, he's from the West Coast, like Clearwater, St. Petersburg area. He's like an hour from me. And that cat was like insane in garrison, but when he's in theater, in Afghanistan, etc., he was normal. I don't know if he would say normal, but dude was only comfortable at war, being on edge.
Which is crazy to think, right? I mean, I've experienced that with like chiefs and stuff like that, and higher ranking officers that just love being on deployment. They just love being out in the ocean. Also, there's the lost sailors or Navy folk will say, well, that's what we're supposed to be anyways. But
Right.
man, luckily when I was in, I always think this, I didn't have a wife or kids, because man, some of these individuals, they have families and they're gone for like these extended periods of times, and it's just, I don't know how.
My cousin Bradley did it. He's doing it now. He's 40. He's like 42, and he has gone on, if I'm not mistaken, he's a colonel now. He was a lieutenant colonel his last combat deployment few years back, and I want to say he's been on 9 or 12 combat deployments, and he's an officer. So he's been out of Bragg most of the time and out of Hood. But like, I mean, that's a lot. 12 combat deployments, and he had come back every other deployment practically and made a child. So he was, I'm not even kidding. He has 5 kids, I want to say now. So it was like deploy, make a child, come back, get back. Another child was being born. It was just like, they might call him back 1 month before he should be back for the birth of the child at best. He almost had it timed out to like a science. And he's still in, he should be full bird and within a year or so. And yeah, he's a badass, bro. I always looked up to him. He's always been a badass, no matter what happened to him. And he was an officer, and a lot of people think officers, that it's like enlisted men. I work for a living. Well, there's some badass officers I know.
Yeah, that's even the stigma in the Navy is the same thing. You get like an ensign or something that's fresh out of college, and they're on the ship, and you see the I'd say maybe as low or high or low, I guess, as a first class petty officer, that's right below a chief, and then khakis, chief, senior chief, man, they have like very little respect for those fresh out of the academy type officers on the ship, because they don't like to salute those guys. They're like, you have no experience, you're still wet behind the ears. And it's funny because we've talked about this before, some of my buddies and I. It's like when you'd see a chief or somebody like that not really show the respect to an officer, like a newer one, for instance. It's weird because it almost makes you feel like, shit, should I show him any like love also? That's where I think there could be some issues. Like you don't salute them when you're supposed to, because you're supposed to walk by, throw up a salute. But yeah, definitely, that's always the same stigma, it seems like, across every branch.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. Having a kid every single time
I
you say you're, yeah.
yeah, and he was good with it too. He stayed like he's a ranger, airborne ranger, and he was always with like an airborne ranger battalion, you know. So that guy was always on the go. He's not like, okay, I've got 5 kids now. Let me go push paper. He's like, I've got 5 kids. How about I do more combat deployments?
And I wonder if that's part of it for like folks like him that have been in for so long. And coming back to, it's like you're saying for your, was it your sergeant? It's like normal almost. They're
Right.
more normal doing that than actually being home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's like a lot of veterans struggle with. Even like I mentioned before, there's had a chief, or he was a senior chief when he got out and he had committed suicide. It's like 20 something years plus in the Navy doing this. There's a certain type of like lifestyle. You're raised in it at that point. You've basically been in it. Let's say he joined at 17, 18, and 20 plus years, that's all you've ever known. And coming back out of that and trying to work your way into an everyday
Right.
person's life is kind of a struggle, I think, for a lot of folks. I know that's something I've, even just after 4 years, I struggle with it. It's like, dang, how the hell do you, I don't know, mix back in with everything that you used to when you were a kid growing up? But
Yeah. I didn't want to get out though. That was the thing. I didn't. I wasn't even. That wasn't my plan. Once you're in and you're like, man, this kind of sucks. Especially when you're like a Joe, and you're in this combat unit, and nothing's sweet.
mm-hmm.
We were that unit, and all these people are always with this rah rah stuff. But like seriously, everywhere we went, no matter what, we had to be the loudest, most badass unit, period. The battalion commanders loved us. They always wanted to grab us. Went reserve side. It was God, who was the governor at that time? Chris. Um, wow. But he was always trying to. He was writing us letters, thanking us. Everyone loved us because whoever was our commanding officer or first sergeant had to be really built for it because they pushed us to the limit always, And I never understood it. I'm like, why do you want to burn us out on something that doesn't matter? Because you look at the frogmen, you look at the group guys, because I almost went 20th Group Special Forces in the Army National Guard, but I ended up wanting to party and wanting to go to college and be like an idiot. I screwed up that opportunity when I was at my prime. And yeah, so I see those guys, and even on my unit's deployment to Zabul province, you hear all these stories from uh, a different unit or a different platoon, even that they're like, yeah, man, we had Team 3 with us, and they're out there just shooting cats that had rabies with their suppressed MP5, just like walking around inside the wire, just like doop, 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 doing whatever they wanted, had beards, the whole 9 yards that everyone always talks about. Well, it's legitimate. They're not busting their balls for no reason. Let them stay sane when you need to stay sane, and because shit's going to hit the fan at some point, and you want your guys prepared for it and not drained from doing dumb shit like
Mm-hmm.
PTing 12 times a day and running your feet raw for what reason? Just to show the other units that ours hangs an inch lower. Like, I thought it was so dumb, and that really was like. And I didn't get promoted for 3 years and 3 months. I stayed in E3 for 3.5 years almost. I didn't get my specialist for 3.5 years because the top, hated me. I came in my first drill with them with what was it, like 10 minutes prior, not 15, not 20, not 30. I was going to be about 20, but I couldn't find the unit. I couldn't find it, man. I tried so hard. I couldn't find the damn unit. I finally find it, and I'm like, oh god, that's where I'm supposed to be. And I peek through that door, and I see like 100 and something troops all in the formation, and they're all at attention. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so screwed. And I walked in the door. Well, I was thinking I'm late, but it's better late than never. That was my, 19, 20 year old mentality. And man, when I walked in that door, Top looked over at me and I was like, I'm screwed. And the recruiter that recruited me actually is at E6. He called me to the back and he's like, man, you screwed up. And I was like, dang, man. And that held with me the whole time. I mean, they
Yeah.
beat the crap out of me. Everything you could think of, and like I wouldn't stop. I saw these other guys like in basic training, even guys would be like beat your face and they'd do 20 push-ups, be like, oh, I can't do anymore. I'd try to do 200, like you're never gonna stop me, I'll show you. And it's like, no, I'm screwing myself. I didn't realize that to my 5th year in. Like, I'm screwing myself. Why am I like, when they're smoking me for this stupid stuff, am I going all out? There's no point. I'm throwing up and they want me to slide it into my pocket and all this stupid stuff. And I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Like, it was just so dumb. Yeah.
See,
Egotistic.
it almost sounds like you would have loved being in the Navy because,
I would have. I would have.
man, I mean, like kind of like you were saying, there's when you're in, you hate it a little bit because
Right.
I didn't want to get out either. When I got out, I really thought I was going to be not a lifer, but definitely re-enlist or something like that. I was not in the mindset that I was going to get out originally, because it's so much fun at the same time. Like that's one thing I love about the Navy is like we work hard, but we'd also play like I think twice as hard. Like
Right.
we would get, I mean, 19 years old, 18, 19, we're going to different countries. You can drink underage, so all the stress you get from actually being on deployment, at least you get 2 to 3 days in the port to kind of burn it all off, let loose a little bit. Just get that stress off. And then you go back, but you're back in this shit for like another couple weeks, maybe a month. And then you hit 2 ports. So now you're back to back. And then you get to party a little bit more. You get to have all these fun experiences. Even when I got to Coronado, that's where I was stationed, they do like bonfires down at the beach because on the part of the beach was on the base and you could drink on the
Yes.
on the beach and on the base, but in California, but not outside of the base. I'm sure it's changed now. So we'd have bonfires, party, go to work the next day, hungover as hell. I mean, one of the best stories that we had, we had some crazy ones, but me and my best pals, we went out St. Patty's, got completely hammered, and had green glitter on us and everything. We had a uniform inspection the next day, and I can't remember who it walked by, who it was, but they're like, did a stop and look back. They're like, "What the hell's on you guys?" And we are just like, "Fuck," I'm still hungover. Probably have a 5 o'clock shadow. Didn't shave, so just
Right.
getting. But they don't. At the same time, they don't remember that forever. Like it sounds like what they did to you for showing up late once. I mean, even when I first got to the Nimitz, we got a group of us got in trouble for underage drinking because somebody had said something to our senior chief at the time, and so he called us in. He's like, "How old are you?" I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "We're getting fucked up right now. I've only been here for a couple months. We're about to get just our asses handed to us." I'm freaking out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be 20." And our old, they call him a divo. I think that's what, yeah, our divisional officer, he was sitting behind him. I was like, "Oh, senior chief, I'm going to be 19 next month." And our divo was like, he didn't ask that. Like he stood up. He's like, he didn't ask how old you're going to be. He asked how old you are. I was like, oh shit. Like, "Oh, I'm 19, sir." And our senior chief, he was just like, "No, what? Just don't let people know your business." And that was it. He's like, "Go have fun. Just don't let if you know somebody's gonna say something, just don't say it to them. Keep it to
Right.
yourself. Keep it to amongst yourselves. That was all that happened. It's like, okay, sweet. That's how Navy, I feel like, generally operates. I'm not sure about now, but there's a lot of waiting and seeing too. Like when
That
we're
sounds
dry
amazing.
docked. Oh yeah, it's great. Like it's funny because thinking about it now, like having been out for 10 years. This last December was 10 years out of the Navy. My last year, we're dry docked up in Washington, Bremerton. And it's like there's days we were just sitting there with nothing to do, and they'd keep us there to like freaking 7 o'clock at night or something like that, or 5 o'clock in the evening, and we're like, "What the hell are we doing?" And they'll come in, "Okay, you guys can leave." And I think that's like just to mess with you because they have nothing else to do, especially
Right.
if they have duty and they're stuck on the ship for 24 hours. I'm like, "Fuck it, we're gonna screw with everybody and just keep them here." But that's like the hardest thing, really. I never had to crank out 200 push-ups or you never PT'd like that. It's get
Jesus.
off work and you go throw a few back.
Ah, and y'all even had the point system where you tested, right, for your promotions and stuff, right?
Yeah, so you do the test and something I wish I would have cared more about. Like I was at E3 the whole time. I never studied for any tests. I was like, no, I'm here to have a good time. And and it was. I had a blast. And then I think towards the end there it got kind of real. I was like, holy crap! I
Yes.
wish I would have tried it a little bit harder on the books, hitting the books a little bit harder. Um, but yeah, it was a great experience, and it's totally different than what you went through from the sounds of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I
You're,
wanted to, and then now I really wish I would have gone Navy or Air Force. I was totally against Air Force. My best friend growing up, his dad was a C-130 pilot, and I wanted to, go into the Army, and he was like, I'm definitely following my dad's footsteps and being a pilot. And he went to the Air Force Academy and graduated and everything, but he couldn't be a pilot, I want to say, because of me, if I'm not mistaken. At least his mom said that at one point
hmm.
when I choked him out and he blacked out when we were wrestling one time. We were actually going from Eglin Air Force Base in their Suburban, and yeah, we got in an argument and we're just dicking around in the back of the seat, and I grabbed him and choked him out, and he went out, and she was like, "Oh my God, he'll never fly!" Da 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 da, and I was like, "What?" And I felt so bad. Oh my God, I felt horrible, and I don't know if it was that or maybe his vision. Something came up, afterwards, and he didn't end up flying. But do you remember hearing about the scandal that happened in the Air Force, the missile silos and whatnot in the middle,
That,
central?
yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar. I mean,
It was
there's
like
been
2015, 16, I think is really when it started hammering off. They were catching like high enlisted like officers, generals, lieutenants, captains, all cheating on that annual nuclear exam.
oh crap.
And that was my best friend, actually was a part of that whole issue, and he never cheated on it, but they checked everyone's hard drives. I mean, they did a full special unit investigation. All the Air Force um, special unit people came in and ripped everything apart, and he screwed up. And let's just say he partied a little too hard one time and left some evidence where him and his other lieutenants off base. And yeah, the MPs came, and that was it. He spent 9 months in the brig, all because of that missile silo scandal deal from cheating.
Wow.
And he never did it. He just didn't tell on him. So he didn't go
That
and
is
snitch, and he got in trouble, which was funny. It happened to me too. I didn't snitch before, and I got in trouble. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that happens, and that like things like that happen though. It seems like there's always some type of scandal. Like Navy's had a few with, I think it was like prostitution basically on the ships at
Nice.
one point. Yeah, I can't remember if it was a specific ship or um, if it was like throughout. I'm sure it happened on a number of ships,
Yeah.
but because they have these, I'm not sure if you guys got these in the army, but like little P card or like cards with chips. This is at least back then. This is
Card?
years ago. It's almost like a debit card or credit card type deal, and it has like now how the new cards have the chip on there.
Like a cat card,
Yeah.
like that.
Oh no, it's like a not your ID, but it was like an actual debit card that they gave us like on deployment, and it
Oh,
had
yeah.
they have like a little credit card machine and everything, so
Right.
you can access your money. And I guess what they were doing, they found out like so these high ranking individuals. I'm not sure if officers were involved, but I think it was certainly like chiefs and stuff like that.
Of
Some
course, there's
khakis.
officers involved. Come on.
I'm sure they were. And so they would do transfers. They call them like chip to chip transfers. So somebody would get like a younger uh, woman, it could be in E1, E3 range, I'm guessing, and
Right.
sell them off. They do a chip to chip transfer to another person. And I guess they start I forget how they busted them, but I think somebody all of a sudden had all these transfers to him. So that Navy's just like, what the hell's going on? How come this guy has like freaking hundreds of transfers going to his chip? And I think that's how they bust him. I would have to double check, but that it's kind of along the lines. And I'm sure it happens, or even before that happened, I'm sure it happened for years.
Yeah.
I always think it probably happens a lot on submarines, especially because I think women can now be on submarines. And that's such a confined space. Like, who's going to, are you really going to tell on a ship on something so small? On a big
Right.
ship, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, but
And
I
it's
feel like
easy to get lost at sea if you talk.
so that's very true. Like, we had on my deployment this guy who I think it was our last port from Hong Kong coming back to the States. He somehow like hid on the ship somewhere, and everybody thought, I think they thought he was dead or lost at sea or something like that, if I remember correctly. But then when we pulled in the port, deployment ended, everybody's families are down there. He tried to get off the ship and they busted him. They're like, well, what the hell? We told everybody you've been missing for like the last 2 months.
Jeez.
Freaking idiot. And I guess he like hid somewhere on the ship. The Nimitz is a really massive ship. So he was hiding somewhere, and like a buddy of his was giving him food and water and stuff like that. So it's like, now you're guilty by association too for being an idiot.
Was he wearing
God.
diapers? Like, good Lord.
I don't know. I just vaguely remember that story happening. And I was like, damn, that's nuts. But it can happen for sure.
And deployment stuff is the amount of crap I heard from my combat medic 68 whiskey buddies that were in my unit. Prostitution over in Afghanistan. The rate of STDs coming back one deployment was 60 something percent.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and then one girl got busted because her Foot Locker, and mind you, we're an all male unit. It's all combat engineers weren't allowing women in the unit, period, under any MOS. It didn't matter what, medic or not, until I think like 2016, they started allowing medics. And so we did have a couple, I think, combat medic females at the end. One, and she was cool. And they were like, this girl was prostituting herself. Her Foot Locker, the classic, big Foot Locker at the end of her bunk, they found was just slap full of cash. I cannot remember the figures, but it was six, it was 6 figures worth of cash. And Yeah, she got hit for prostitution, and and then I think she got charged for spreading STDs as well.
Oh
That
my
happens all the
god.
time. To think about that, especially in the combat arms, of the non-special operations side, that happens
Mhm.
pretty frequently. Stuff like that, extortion. Like I heard and saw a lot of crazy stuff that was all real.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've definitely there was a few times like because when we go on a ports we have duty in the Navy, so or even when we're on the state side, so it's like 24 hours. They're there all day. You have watches and stuff. Like I do a fuels watch, and there'd be a few times where I've opened up a hatch to go into a space, and there's some people in there doing some things. I'm just, you see it all the time. I've seen it a handful of times. It's just, I don't know.
That's
After a
all
while,
it
it's like, yeah, it's crazy the things you see, uh, and the things that do happen, the things you hear for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely some crazy stories. I've told people, I was like family and stuff. I was like, I could tell you guys stories, but there's certain things that I think I'm going to have to take to the grave with me that I've seen that you would be shocked to learn happen
Yeah,
in the
your
Navy.
respect for the troops will be way lowered.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but man, this was something I think too when we're started deployment. I wonder if anybody will remember this. That if they listen, that I was in the Navy with. So we had just left for deployment. Just kind of thinking about people that can get lost at sea. We had a guy, my best friend and I, we were going to go smoke. We had a smoke pit on the ship. We're like, all right, finally get a break. That's the only time I ever smoked too was in the Navy. I don't know what it was, but something
Yeah,
about,
you get more breaks.
yeah, it's like I gotta
Smoking.
get out here.
Yeah.
But we saw this guy running through the hangar bay, and he's being chased by a handful of people, and he just jumped out the hangar bay right into the ocean. It's like we'd only been on deployment for like maybe a week or 2 weeks. And it's just like, man, we went through all these workups and going out to sea for months at a time, or for months we're doing this, go out for a week, come back, go out for a week. We did that for like 4 or 5 months. And now you're going to decide to jump the ship? Like you're going to do all that work just to jump now. It's kind of crazy, but it's like shit like that. It's not too uncommon. I don't know what happened with that person individually, if they got an email or if they're married or somebody broke up with them. But I mean, crazy shit happens. Like you said, you've seen some stuff,
That
and
was a big trigger.
what was that?
People, that was a big trigger from what I saw, especially from my platoon leader. No, platoon squad leader, E6. E7 was the platoon sergeant, but my platoon or squad leader, Sergeant Lawson, he had his wife cheat on him, who was an E5 on the Eglin Air Force Base. She was a MP or SF Security Forces and cop on base, and she cheated on him when she was pregnant with his kid while we were in Germany getting ready. We were training the Afghan National Army. We were training, I think it was, I want to say 10th Mountain in rollover training. And we were training like UAV and combatives with this Ranger and all types of stuff. But he gets a call like 30 days into it that she's cheating on him and screw you and never come back, all this crap. And he's got a
Holy
temp
crap!
for like 90% of us in that unit. And he was like, I'm going to cut that baby out. He's losing it. And I'm like, oh my God, we are all about to be up all night long. This is going to suck. And that was a huge trigger for a lot of guys was women, on deployment or anything. Fort Leonard
Yeah,
Wood, Missouri is where all of us did any type of sapper training, any type of Husky. My Husky school was there. Basic training was there. Tech school was there. That place sucks. And I even had an ex girlfriend trick me on April Fool's Day, telling me she was pregnant And I always was known that, and she was in the military too. She was in the Army Reserves, and she knew I didn't want to have kids. And she tells me as I'm prepping with the highest amount of anxiety in my life, before I'm about to go to Zabul province, Afghanistan, I'm training to go to war. And she says, I've got something to tell you. Is at like 6 a.m. too. And she's just quiet for like 2 minutes. And she's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, are you? And I just lost. I remember I didn't speak for like 2 or 3 minutes. And she was like, are you still there? And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Barely.
And she goes, April Fools. And I hung up the phone and I didn't talk to her for like, I think the whole rest of the training for another couple weeks. And normally I'd kick that stuff. I was pissed. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. That's not cool. Not
Yeah, because that, like you say, you're training, doing all this stuff, prepping to go do something. It's like, damn, you don't want
And the
that
job
on
I
your
was
mind.
doing, the job that I was training to do is as a Husky driver, I'm claustrophobic. Okay. You're in a Husky. I don't know if you know, but it's like 10, 5 square feet. It's like a foot in front of you, and you can hold your rifle behind you. You've got your ground penetrating radar screens right in the front, and you've got a top hatch that opens, and that's it. You just got that top hatch that opens, and you're in this truck going 2 kph, 3 kph, so 1 to 2 miles an hour. And I'm claustrophobic, and you're supposed to be in that thing for like 12 hours a day. And
Aye, aye.
you're literally waiting on a route to find an IED before it finds you. So it's 100% survival rate. I mean, you're going to get traumatic brain injuries and everything else that guys that did the job got, but still, you're the one to find the IED before it hits everyone behind you. You might pass over it, and it could be not pressure plate, but a debt. Someone with their phone, or a personal IED, as they would call it, and personal born IED or whatever, and you would feel like shit. So your anxiety is so high. And there was actually a deployment I couldn't even make because it got so bad. I felt like such a puss, but like I couldn't, dude. I was having panic attacks every single day. My blood pressure, and that wasn't even the issue. It was actually the doctor. It was a captain on the Air Force Base. She was like, your blood pressure is too high. Like you
Oh
cannot
crap.
you cannot go. There's no way you can do this, but it's up to you. You'll probably have a heart attack at 23 years old, but that's up to you. And I was like, you're the doctor. You tell me yes or no. I will go and die. Like, that is how hard headed I am. I will go because I'm not going to get talked down to about missing this. And she was like, I highly recommend you not go then, if you want my honest opinion. I was like, oh my God. And I
And it's
trained,
like, just say that then.
right. And I trained 2-3 years for that day, 2 or 3 years to go on a 10-month route clearance package. And a lot of people were jacked up on that deployment, and I may have never came back, but I always felt, and still to this day, horrible. But there had to be a reason. Whenever you are in shape, you're a master, marksman on 4 weapon systems at that time. You're good at what your job is. I mean, I don't know. It just happened to be fate, I guess. And then another deployment's coming up, and I get hit by a drunk driver.
Holy crap.
And that's why I could never finish and retire. I would be retiring in like 6 years. But I got hit by a drunk in Orlando doing armed security. So I moved to Tampa after my unit gets back 2013 of April. And I move out here to Tampa, and I do an armed security gig in Orlando, and I get hit at a red light at like 70-some miles an hour. A drunk driver hits me, and he rolls out. I was with a Marine in my passenger seat. I was driving, and we were like full battle rattle, vest, guns, everything, full Molly gear. Well, his M4 was in the back. It flew to the front, stuck in the dash. My K-bar came off of, oh no, it was a Seal Pup Elite, actually. It was a SOG that the SEALs use, the Navy. And it came out, and it stuck in the door beside his face. Like, there's so many things that about killed us in that wreck. And I remember as soon as we went up on the nose because I hit the brake on the Jeep, and it like fell back down.
Oh, shoot. Think I lost you.
In trouble, you're not going to get a lawsuit. So I was like, okay, well, all right. And I'm just shaking it because I guess I was about to get out and confront the guy with my gun out. But luckily, he pulled me back in. He was like, stay in the seat until the cops get here or you won't have a lawsuit. And that's all I remember. And then they came, and I mean, dude, it was pretty bad. It was like, I think 6 herniated disc and all types of crap. And at that day, I couldn't skateboard anymore. I couldn't surf anymore. And I did it on a definitely higher level, than just playing around. So that sucked. And then knowing that I had 3 more years of my contract left, 3 years and change, and I did it. I could have medically boarded out, but I just pushed through it, and actually they respected me that last 3 years. Finally, I got promoted. Finally. I got a couple of Joes under me here and there. I was like a master on like 9 different weapon systems at that time. The saw gunner. I was what else? Shoot 50 cal. I mean, all of them. The M9, everything. I pretty much outshot everybody in my unit, if not for sure. And then I got real big into weapons. Like 2014 when I got my settlement from that wreck, I spent like 50 grand on guns.
Hey, that's America right there. Holy crap, man. That's the way to do it.
And a Harley. bought a cruiser. I got an 1800, and I got a new bike, and I got a bunch of guns. Yep.
Yeah, that's badass. But so is that accident is essentially what led to you not being able to keep going after those 3 years were up then?
100%. Yep. So it made me bitter. I wanted to beat the dog crap out of that kid. It ended up being the son of my mom's OBGYN back in the Panhandle.
Holy crap.
What are the odds of that?
That's a small world right there.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Dr. Patel. I was like, of all things, like, how is that even a thing? Yeah. So needless to say, I knew where he was, who he was, and that he got off with just a DUI. He did get 2 felonies for serious bodily injury on me and the Marine, but his parents paid for it. He spent 2 hours in jail. They bonded him out. Oh my God, the Marine. Oh man, he lost it. He was bad. He was at that last level that a few of my buddies that were over in Iraq in like 2003, 4, 5, 6 were like, just burnout. And he had the blood pressure, vital cuffs on, IVs on, and everything, and he drug it because highway patrol came by with the suspect and was like, he didn't get hurt, of course. 70-something miles an hour, drunk as a skunk, didn't have a bruise. And he's got a neck brace on, and I'm all jacked up. And the cop says, hey, do you want to apologize to these 2 soldiers? And then he was like, I'm a goddamn Marine, not a soldier. I was like, well, I'm a soldier. You could apologize to me, bitch. And and he just looked down, and he didn't apologize. Oh, my God.
Wow.
And then the cop highway patrol was like, okay, man. And he like turned around and started taking away, and the Marine just took off after him, and we all had to grab him, and he was going to just kill him, dude. I was like, man, calm down. And the cop's like, you're going to get a charge too, and you're going to go to jail. So Uh, yeah, I'm still bitter to this day, for sure. But everything happens for a reason. I could still be in that same unit, still E4, doing
Hmm.
nothing. You know.
Yeah, I mean it's true. That's just man, that is some crazy. I've never heard a story like that before. That is nuts. So your buddy that was in the Marines, did it lead to him having to get out as well, or
He was
was
already
he?
out. He was
Oh,
already
oh,
out.
so he was out. Okay, but he's yeah. I mean, Marines have that mindset too. They're once a Marine, always a Marine. So there's no like a veteran status necessarily. Oh man, he froze up on me again. Uh, there you go.
There we go.
But yeah, I could see that being frustrating. It's I mean, especially like how you're saying for yourself. I mean, that's not the ideal way to you'd want to leave the military. I mean,
Right. Because I was like, kind of like, I want to leave? Do I want to? Because at that time I was getting into organic horticulture. I wanted to be a master horticulturalist and be this amazing grower and farming too on the side. And then I had a bunch of buddies that were out like doing stuff for veterans, growing cannabis, CBD, guys that were doing organic farms, you name it, combat for cannabis. That guy I ran into, we met. I was like, that's something I would like to do, but I obviously can't do that while I'm still in the service. So,
yeah.
and then being in that unit I was in, practically being beat up for 3, 4 of the years, like practically like abused, man. It was pretty ridiculous. The crap that I endured, I just kind of act like it didn't happen or that it's normal, so that way I don't really think on it. Um, but it was ridiculous. But then, like I said, the last 3 years, they really were like, okay, is this the same guy? He's super mature. Like, I definitely was immature then when they were jacking me up, but like, what young soldier in combat arms or not combat arms isn't, you know?
Hmm.
So, I mean, um, it was probably for the best, though, I would
Yeah.
say.
I mean, it is funny because yeah, I mean when you first enlist, I mean you're not nobody's super mature at a young age. Like if when I think about now, if I were to go back with knowing what I know now, I would do things totally differently.
My God. Yeah.
I wouldn't party as much as I did on at the ports I went to. I'd probably go actually sightseeing because all those countries I've never
Right.
been to since I've left. You know, it's like man, I would take more advantage of like soaking it in instead of just being like, where's the
Right.
nearest bar? Because I'm 18, 19 years
Right.
old. I want to just get hammered and
Yep.
basically blackout, whatever happens, happens type
Yep.
situation. It's like, yeah, man, if I could go back, I would do it totally different. But yeah, it is hard getting out. Kind of in the same boat. Like I got out just because it seemed like the right thing to do at that moment, even
Right.
though I didn't want to. I don't. I mean, and it's something I struggled with when I got out. It took me a long time to like get over the fact that I made a decision that's pretty permanent.
Yeah.
Like when I started going to school and couldn't really get a job, it was hard as hell to find a job. It's like, man, it's like at what point I even thought about just going back. I remember telling my grandpa one time when I visited my family, and it was just me, him in the car. I was like, I'm thinking about going back. I was like, this is just, I'm not finding my footing. I don't
Right.
like, almost flunked out of college my first semester in college. I hated school. I would never go. I thought it was just irrelevant. I was like, what's the purpose of any of this stuff that I'm doing now when I had a job that I'd love to do? It was like very purposeful, fulfilling. Took it for granted, I guess, in the moment. But yeah, my grandpa was like, "Oh, I remember he's like, you made your choice. You gotta live with it. You know, go down the path you're going down now, and you'll be fine." But yeah, it took me a long time to get over it. And there's times where I have those moments where I'm like, "Damn, I freaking hate like my job. I wish I would have just stayed in. I would be
Yep.
retiring, crap, when did I join? 2018. So 2008. I'd be retiring in like 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
It's like, damn, I could almost be done, and I could
Right.
get like a decent job and just be living a good life, But that's the hard part, I guess, for anybody that's transitioning out, no matter how long you've been in, how long you do. But
It's
so,
just like you're conditioned to that. Wake up and everything is so uniformed. It's
mhm.
all uniformity was so hard for me. Like getting out, I feel like that was the biggest thing was uh, not being on a schedule, forced to be on a schedule. Like that was the big thing is you're practically forced, or you're gonna get smoked. In my case, get the dog shit smoked out of you, or get written up, get bad paperwork. You just didn't screw up like that. You knew better. Now you like get complacent, like we were talking about. Is like maybe I'm sick. Telehealth. Yeah, right. Like that
Yeah.
could happen in the military, right? Like let me go to a sick call and just go out for a day. Yeah, right. I would make
Oh,
up that sick call day tenfold if I went and did that crap. So
yeah,
like
and then even then, like Navy doctors and stuff, they don't want to hear that shit either. Like they won't give you nothing. You go down there,
oh, I
they'll just
remember.
be like, you're fine. They're like, oh, you're good. I mean, you have to go down with like something serious. You better have like a broken leg, an arm, something, or else they're just like, no, you're fine. You can go
Dude, I
back.
got carried into NES Jacksonville, the base there for the naval base. I was over at Camp Blanding in Jacksonville doing C4 training. We're doing demolition training, and I think this was training also to go overseas, but we were doing a drill where we were shooting, and whenever they would yell, we had full battle rattle on. We had our rucksacks, we had our plates on, heavy ass ceramic plates, like 40 pounds, and we had everything. You're like an extra like 80 pounds, and at that point, I don't think I had really anything wrong with me, but I remember they were like, fire. We'd be running at full speed, and then they would say, take it on fire at 1 o'clock, whatever it was, and you dive in that direction, and you just dive out into your feet, oh God, wow. You would fall out and get into your shooting position. So I remember I dove right when he said it, and I train like I fight. Like that's huge to me even till today. If I go to the range, I train how I fight, and vice versa. And so I dive and I go over a tree, and I landed on my stomach on a tree trunk that had been cut. So like I dove full weight on my chest onto this tree trunk, and I landed right in the prone position, as I wasn't remembering earlier. I like landed right in the prone, just doosh, and man, that impact locked me up. So I remember I couldn't get dressed. I had to have someone help me get dressed. I had to have someone help me get out of the bed to take me to that naval doctor. And then there were some CBs there that are like kind of like what we did, combat uh, engineers for y'all, were
Hmm.
CBs, and the doctor was like, "Oh, here's a muscle relaxer and a Toradol shot," and I was like, "Bro, I can't move. Like I cannot even get dressed. You think that's gonna be sufficient?" But I remember them being kind of like assholes when I was there about it. So yeah, I understand that about Navy doctors, no doubt. God.
See, the funny thing is, something like that happens even remotely to you in the civilian world. Man, they'll be like, "All right, take the week off."
Right.
They're
Like, right. Massaging you. Are you okay, buddy?
oh man, like yeah, like we are talking about. I've milked that so many times over the years, even before having kids and stuff. When I worked at because I worked at like Lowe's and Home Depot when I first got out when I was
Yeah.
going to school, and I was just like, "Hey, I threw up today. I'm just
Right.
not coming in." And
Right.
they're like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. Just
Like, what?
get
That
better." I'm
works?
like, "What the hell,
Right.
man? In the Navy, I'd show up hungover and I'm throwing up. It's like, oh, you better fucking like throw in a chaw or smoke a cig and get back in,
Right.
lace up your boots the day you got to work today. So yeah, there's no sick days or anything like that, which is funny because I feel like those are things I use up rather quickly since I've been
Right. Yep.
out. It's like,
What
man, you guys,
PTO?
yeah. And then I work with people that don't use them. I'm like, man, you guys taking this stuff for granted, man. You guys got freaking sick
Right.
days and two
Right.
weeks off or however
I
many
mean, my
days off a
PTO is
year.
already done for this year. My 9 days have been burnt already. They're gone. I used 3 of them for her back surgery, but like the other 5.5 or 6, man, it was just I was ready. I'll take a day here, a day there. Oh man, I love PTO. That's some good stuff right there.
It's it's underrated. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Speaking of chaws, man, dipping and smoking, man. I quit while I was in my last 3 years when I was really at my prime and I was getting some respect and whatnot. I quit. The doctor said I was so butthurt about getting hurt, not being able to be the top guy in PT and all that crap. So I was like, "What can I do, doc?" He was like, "Hey, you could possibly quit using tobacco and drinking, and it would help the blood, go to those areas to heal faster. It's possible. I've had a firefighter do it, and his disc healed, but you've got a few. Why not try? It's not good for you anyways." And I was a heavy dipper. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would dip a can of long cut grizzly wintergreen, like a can a day, and I would also smoke like a quarter pack of cigarettes a day too. And I did that from 15 to 25. Yeah, 10 years straight, just nonstop. And I would even, yeah, I'd be like you said, hungover, running PT in the morning, throwing up all running with the dip in my mouth. But you just keep on hauling ass. And I quit drinking too when I came back from Germany. I haven't drank any liquor or been drunk since 2012.
Holy crap.
Yeah, dude.
That's impressive. That's actually, damn, you got strong will right there to be able to do that.
Got to.
Man, because
Got addicts in my family.
I've it's funny because I think, like, speaking like even kind of an addiction when I first got out, I got really into drinking like craft beers. I know it's funny, but man,
Yeah.
I was drinking a bunch a day. I was like the bombers, the 20 ounces. When I first got out, I would drink like 4 or 5 of those a day for like years. I was doing this, I was doing this for years, and that's like at, let's say, minimum 6%,
Right.
uh, you know, volume. So it's like I'm doing 4 or 5 of those a day, and until, I mean, not just recently, but I slowly over the years have stopped drinking as much. But I made that conscious decision, like I got to stop just drinking almost in general. I still drink beers, and occasionally I'll get like a bottle of bourbon or something, but not nearly as much because that's a path that can lead to some unhappy thoughts. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a good drunk either. A lot of my family would attest to this. I'm a horrible drunk. Because I get like in my own thoughts a lot, and that's where I struggled when I first got out, and not as much now. I think as I've gotten older, I've been in a happier place. So if I do have a good time, it's like,
Right.
all right, good shit's happening in my life now, so we have fun. But that first 4 to 5 years when I got out, like 22 to 26, was just rough, man. I was just living in my thoughts way too much during those times.
Same.
And I mean, a lot of it stemmed from that. I think it's also things you don't want to confront. So then you drink something, or you get down the end of the bottle, and that all those thoughts that you're trying to hide from start coming back up. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I need to get a little bit more like you. I need to just say, screw it, man. I mean, there's no real benefit to it anyways,
I feel like crap,
realistically.
man. Like I feel poison when I wake up the next day. Always. I could have one beer. If I have one, because I had a couple craft beers from 2012 till now, In the year of 19, I had a couple for like a few months. I tried a few craft beers. I'm like, you know what? I deserve this. Let me try one like here and there. And I would try like High Lie and some of the, and then higher, nicer ones than that. Because I'm in Tampa at we got some of the best breweries here. So like I would have one randomly and I'd feel horrible, man. I'd get a headache and feel like crap. I'm like, my body just doesn't like alcohol. It just doesn't. But during that time frame, don't get me wrong, I might have quit drinking and I might have quit tobacco, but I still had my addiction problems, and I always had because I was adopted from addict, So like I broke my wrist. They gave me pain pills. I got in a car wreck. I got pain pills. So I had to beat that addiction. I actually had to beat that while going overseas, for 60 days in Germany. I went like months taking Percocet every day. And then I went cold turkey without it for 2 months. And I didn't sleep for 2 days, man. Or I'm sorry, 7 days. I didn't sleep for 7 days roughly. Because the medic, I remember I went and asked him, I said, man, can I get an IV? I feel like death. And he's like, what's wrong? Are you withdrawing? I was like, yeah, I am. I didn't realize, I had no idea how addictive it was. So I battled those demons for sure. And because of how much my anxiety was, I was in radiology school too. And I wanted to do all this stuff, but I was just doing a bunch of stuff to keep my mind busy, but it wouldn't work. And I was having panic attacks every single day, all day long. I would come off the toilet to my ex, just hyperventilating. I don't think it could have got worse other than just dying from a stroke. I would go to the
Holy
ER
cow.
on base, just like thinking I was stroking out. Then I was almost stroking out. And then, like, I went to the police academy and started hemorrhaging from a nose and throat surgery I had because I broke my nose 5 times and um, finally had a surgery. And then they took my tonsils out at the same time, but I had a panic attack and it came loose and started hemorrhaging and I almost bled out, bro. It was gnarly. So
Holy
like I
cow.
really went through like anxiety to the highest level until like in anger. My anger would be anger or anxious, one or the other. I would have happy, go lucky, but when it was bad, it was one of the two, and one of them would lead to the other at some point. Fit or rage, and then anxiety attack, or vice versa. So, man, feeling after working through that for 6 years straight with a therapist, a psychiatrist, and then deeply going into on myself, like this is an issue. I need to really work on myself. What's causing this? And I know a lot was unhappiness, but like it was rough, bro. Like when you talk about 22, that's when it started for me. Like they put me on blood pressure pills at 22. And then at going to Afghanistan, they're like, that job you have will probably kill you. And then it did. There was actually a couple guys that had heart attacks on that deployment. So I was like, I'm glad I didn't
Damn.
go on that one, really. So I get it, man. Those
Yeah.
demons can be so real.
Well, I think kind of like you're saying, so that they give you muscle relaxers, all these different pills, and I think that's in general what society does for any issues too. They just take this if you're having any type of pain, take this. There's no real, um, especially when it comes to, like, mental stuff. Even there's no real like help with it, and I think that's what happens. So, especially a lot of veterans or even active duty military members, they get prescribed things to maybe ease their minds, and then or
Right.
ease some part of whatever they're going through, and then it sticks with you because you're like, hey, it works. So you keep taking it and taking it, but you're like masking the problem rather than actually, um, solving it. Like what you've done. You've gone cold turkey. You don't drink or anything like that. Not a lot of people can do that because that addiction fulfills something. Like, if for me, like, alcohol was like that. I think I was kind of resentful also to a lot of people in my life at a time for certain things, and it was just like it would just mask a whole bunch of different things that are going on in my life. And it's hard to face yourself and look in the mirror, and be like, damn, what I'm doing is freaking not beneficial to me at all. And it's not helping those around me either.
It makes it worse.
That's, yeah, it does. And like when I was smoking and dipping and stuff like that too. Luckily, I met my now wife when I was in the Navy. She was going to college, and because of her, I went cold turkey on freaking, or I wouldn't say cold turkey, but that's a reason why I stopped smoking and dipping, because there's times when I got out, or even when I was still in, we were dating, I'd hang out with my buddies and I'd still smoke, a pack of cigarettes, especially after drinking or eating lunch or breakfast. It's like, man, especially after breakfast, like, all right, I got to go smoke like 2 or 3 cigs right now. I got to go out, and it became like just a habit. And then same thing with dipping is like, well, if I can't smoke, I'm just going to throw in the chaw and just do that. So I would do both, which is horrible, and mix it with drinking. But
yeah, the damage we do on our bodies as service members, because like all of them, almost everyone did that combo: drink, smoke, dip, drink, smoke, dip, especially deployments.
I wonder if it helps with the stress, kind of like you were talking about. Like it helps kind of getting, like for me, it would get me out of, all right, I can get off the flight deck for like 10 minutes and go smoke a cigarette and like kind of decompress. But then it's like you're walking back up the steps, and it's like, all right, getting back on the flight deck, fucking jets are taking off, people are yelling, things are moving. Things like one of the top 5 most dangerous jobs in the world. So it's like things are happening at really fast pace. And you can't just bullshit it up there. So when you do get a break, it's like finally something. And kind of like you're talking about, like anxiety and stress. There is stress in the military that's so different than any type of stress I've had outside the military. Because like you're even saying with IID stuff, one false move or one bad decision can be your life, it could be the life of other people. And it's not many jobs have that, especially at such an early age. Like you're 18, 19, 20, early 20s. And then even for the older folks that, are in longer, but that responsibility placed on young shoulders with like real no experience with doing something like that. It takes a heavy toll on people.
Yeah.
But so I also kind of want to talk about your real quick here before we sign off. I know you have is it a little fishing business going on here?
Well, yeah, I do. I make like custom baits and stuff. And nice. I started it just the beginning of it was like December, January timeframe. And it was based off of, I'm always been an entrepreneur, man. I had like a pooper scooper business that I started last year called Minesweeper. I was like, I was a combat engineer, is perfect. Like that's what we did. I was like, bam, I'll do that. I did that. Had a urban farm. I would also teach people how to. I would consult them on growing medicinal herbs. Anything, because it's legal here to be a patient and caregiver. My brother has a farm in Michigan, has one in Oregon. So like something always. And finally, I was like, well, I can't do that, especially where I live now. We have an HOA. It's the worst. And I'm fully in with all my injuries since that drunk driver hit me, mind you. I got hit by 18-wheeler, 2020. The axle came off with a dual tire, and in total, my work truck hit me on the passenger side, and now I have like 12 herniated discs. Like it's ridiculous. And I had a motorcycle wreck. My motorcycle flipped on me in sugar sand going 50 miles an hour, 2019. So 19, shattered my knee and broke my tibia real good. I have a lot of hardware. And then August of 2020, 18-wheeler hit me. So I'm like, dude, I can't farm anymore. That dream's out the window. I can't do anything physical anymore because these idiots keep hitting me. So well, I'm obsessed with fishing. So skateboard, surfboard, all the hard sports went away, and I fish. Finally bought my first boat, like real, nice bass boat. For me, spending 30, 40 grand on a bass boat, that's nice for me. And bought it brand new, and then fished my ass off for the last like two years and change nonstop. But I've been doing it my entire life. But I took a few-year break at one point and shot more than anything. And so in what was it, December, I was fishing with my buddy Austin Weaver, who's a younger cat that is a sponsored angler and all this and that. Real good. He's a hammer, and he had this bag of worms, and I was like, bro, like he's like, yeah, this is electric blue. I'm like, man, look, can I fish some of those? You're crushing it. They're not digging my color at all. He's like, yeah, man, on the river you gotta have this shade of blue. I'm like, man, everyone says that, but he went wrong. Like the river fish are different. So I listened to him. I was like, all right. I said, how do you make these? He's like, I don't know. My brother makes them in the microwave or something. And I was like, dude, I really want to know. Like, I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month on baits because I fish every day. Like, let me know. He's like, all right, I'll have my brother hit you up. He never hit me up really. So I kept calling him. I'm like, dude, he's like, just buy a mold online or something. I'm like, dude, you're worthless with this thing. So I dug in, I plugged in and checked YouTube and Google, and I figured it out. I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And then, so what I would tell people in like small businesses is starting it, like, make sure that market is not saturated. If it is kind of saturated, make sure it's something you can have a niche market in. I'm making custom hand poured, not big machines, but hand poured to your liking. You can't go to Bass Pro and say, hey, I really like, let's say, like for the giveaway with Veteran 22, Lower Vet 22 with Adam.
Yeah.
So like, let's just say like any of these like worms or whatever. It's like, hey, you go to Bass Pro, can I get this but with gold tail and white head? Hell no. They're gonna tell you to screw off and buy what's on the shelf. So that's where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a better product and produce it at the same cost as these people, and I'll customize it if they want. So like I did that, and I think it's so cool, man. It's a hustle for sure. You gotta dump some money into it and a lot of work for free.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from a lot of people that have started their own business. I mean, you gotta the upfront part of it is a little bit hard to swallow, I guess, but I mean it's worth it there at the end.
Yeah,
So
and I'm
they could
making
pull
people
this off.
happy. I've already, I've been grinding it out. So like, I've already got on Instagram. I hate social media, but dude, I started my Instagram like for the Spotlock baits like probably 2 months ago, and got thousands of people on it. And it's going up every day. I'm kind of learning how to stay relevant. Every day I try to make new baits and stuff. And really on Instagram's where I keep all the new stuff. The website's just kind of a platform to show a little bit, have people buy. And honestly, most of my orders now are people in Tampa or friends, and I get some that are that's my boat right there going to Lake Okeechobee.
Nice.
That was really fun. Um, but it's just it's cool. It's a definitely grind. But everything is based on military. So all the names of my baits, and stuff like that are military. So like these baits I made this morning that you got there,
Oh, these ones
right?
right here.
Yeah, I made those this morning for a lady. She said I want something patriotic, and I said I got you. Where can you go somewhere and just say, hey, yo, make me those, and I'm gonna pay the same price. So I got a few people on my team. I sponsored like 4 guys, and I got one tour pro. Um, that I got That's actually my first guy that asked to, be on the team, and he's on the Toyota series now, and he's doing good. And then I've got like 4 Joes that are on there, and I think it will go somewhere. I'm open for anybody that's willing to like fish a lot and put my name out there. I'll give them 20% off, freebies, and then let them be sponsored by and then that guy's cool, Bite Squad Lures. He
Right
he
here.
he sponsored me. I sponsored him. He's actually a captain on Fort Benning. Yeah, he's in the Army too. Yeah, he's
See,
got a
that makes it even better. It's all veteran operated and owned, man.
yeah. And then like on all my names of my baits are practically military, right? You got Marine.
Let's see.
You got like Marine. That's the new one I made yesterday. I just called it Moab, the mother of all bombs, because that thing's like a straight B bomb. That thing's awesome. That thing comes down with a punch through the water, and I swear they cannot resist it. So everything I try to, with a product, you got to brand it. The all these guys brand all their baits with like the silliest stuff, and people buy into it. So like this
Mm-hmm.
one that I made today is a core shot. So I call it the oorah shot for the Marine Corps. They always yell oorah. So I was like core shot, bam. So C4, and then I got a couple. That one actually with the Moab that you just had on.
Yeah.
That one is called the Storm and Norman from Desert Storm. I don't know if you remember that. If I'm not mistaken, Marine. Oh man, was he Marine General Storm and Norman? I want to say. But I named it after him, and all of them have little nifty names like that, like Private Paddler, Sergeant Shrimp, just ridiculous stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but there's so
That's
much you can
badass.
do with it.
Yeah, it's something I need to get into. I haven't, man. I've been looking to get a new hobby. I haven't been fishing in, God, I can't remember the last time I went fishing.
Bro, talk about fun and clearing your head.
That's
That's
what I
it.
heard for a
Life.
lot of people. Is that kind of what it does for you then too? Just a good way to.
Man, I mean, last week, though, it was real weird. I took my buddy, his kid, my stepson, and myself out, and I was kind of chartering them around. It was kind of anxious. And then I took my close childhood friend who does charters in Pensacola on his deep sea boat, and I took him out, and it was real anxious too. It was odd. But then I go out with my spouse, Megan, Sunday, and I'm fine. When I go out by myself, I'm fine. But like I have a big tournament. I have a tournament on the Harris chain Saturday morning at 6 a.m. And I don't know, man. It's weird. I just want to go and have fun. I actually think I'm going to get out of this whole, tournament realm, because if I'm going to do that, I should be doing it for the big leagues, not a 20, 30 man deal where you're winning 100, $200. Like, these guys take it serious, bro. Like, these
Mhm.
guys burn thousands of dollars, bro. It's honestly reminds me of like cadets. They're like, man, they're just so egotistical, and like they get too into it. And I'm like, guys, calm down. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It really
Yeah.
isn't. What can you win? $150 for first place? I get the pride. I get the first place deal, but they're calling out 2 days advance to fish the lake for 2 days, get at a hotel there for a 10 boat tournament. And they're like giving you attitude. You'd be like, morning. Some of them are Navy, some are Air Force, some are Army, and they all have these jerseys, but with the branch. And
Yeah.
dude, they are dicks. Like, seriously. Like, so even the Army guys, I'll be like, hey, morning, man. And it'd just be like, I'm like, what are you guys pissed about? Like, what? Where did we step off on the wrong foot here? Is it because my first tournament I got fourth place on a lake I never fished before? Are you mad? And I can't even pitch my product to them. I feel like they'll just reject it with being assholes and say, "Oh, this guy makes it." Because I did once. I actually did once the last tournament, and the guy, he's a stunt double. He's cool. He does all these Netflix show premieres. He's really awesome. He just got done with the Florida Man show. He's a real cool cat. He's the coolest dude to that whole tournament series got. But he bought my baits and then beat us all with them.
Oh,
He
that's
got
badass.
and he's like Marine, so he got the grunt grubs and he got the burner worm and he crushed us all with them. But then I pitched it to the guy on my boat. I was like, "Hey man, if you need anything, I'll give them to you at freaking cost. We're talking about like $3 instead of $5-6. Do you need anything?" He's like, "No, Ron in our club already makes them." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Damn, dude. It's like
I did spend $9,000 or $7-8 grand in custom made molds that Ron probably doesn't have. So just saying, if you want, I'm not trying to compete with anybody, but it's there.
yeah, it's it's funny because you would think it'd be the opposite too, because you always hear like veterans reaching out, like there's not enough. There's always like nobody's out there, who there's no veterans that we can help or veterans helping veterans. That's like the huge thing, you always hear. And
Right?
it's like that sounds
Like Adam's app. Dude, I've got
yeah.
150 veterans on my Facebook guaranteed, and probably the same on Instagram. I think 2 people have downloaded the app and I've shouted it out 3 different posts separate times. So
Yeah.
total of 6 times on 2 platforms, and 3 people downloaded it. Like, you can win like so much stuff. For the odds are huge right
Oh
now.
yeah.
There's so few, like the odds are huge. Why would you not?
That's what
I
it's funny because I've posted about it a few times, and like even in the last episode I did with Adam, in the beginning I did like a little promo thing, saying this is a month's giveaway. It was a red dot site, and I
right.
had a few buddies that are like, "You're always posting a veteran stuff now." I was like, "Well, yeah, fucking join the damn app, dude. It's cool if you're into hunting, fishing. I mean, I think he's doing a coffee one also. It's like you can win shit for free. It's not like it's like we're pulling you away from doing something, or he's pulling you away from something and making you pay. But
Oh, there we are.
no,
God, you did that red dot site was you put that up or?
no, that's all him. I mean, it's
Oh,
it's his thing. But like I've just given the shout outs and giving him some love too, and try to help him as veterans should do for each other. Veterans
yeah.
helping veterans. He got his really cool app.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's
I think
sweet.
I even told him, I was like, I wish something was like that back in the day when I first got out. Living in San Diego, it would have been cool to just meet other veterans that way, instead of kind of
In a bar.
wallowing in my sorrow a little bit of like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know anybody. Nobody knows what I'm going through. I'm just all by
Right.
myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really cool app, and
Yeah, I think
just
it's
so
a great
everybody,
idea.
yeah,
I asked this Marine veteran who I guess does the same thing on IG, and I pitched it to him today on his live stream, and I didn't realize he does the same thing. That's what his page is.
oh crap. Oh man.
Well, so I shot him the idea in his DMs, and apparently he does the same promotion veteran to veteran thing, and yeah, he's like a little conflict of interest there, and I was like, oh my bad. I was like, well, maybe collab with him.
Yeah, that's how it probably should be. I think it's funny because I've seen some interesting videos lately where people are saying, I don't worry about the competitor in a sense, just wake up and do my job, and there's enough to go. Like I've always tell people all the time, and even my industry I'm in now, there's enough for everybody. I mean, everybody, you
Right.
can't hold the entire market to yourself. That's almost like virtually impossible. So
Yeah.
why not collab with, or even just be open to it? Be like, hey, look, here's another company that's doing kind of what we're doing the same thing.
Right.
Reach out to them, reach out to us. Um,
It goes so
but
much further, man. Like it just does.
yeah,
It really does. I saw that guy doing baits. That's veteran. He's in the army too, and everything. And I was like, "Bam! Hey, man, you want to link up and collaborate on a bait together? You make the hard bait of it. I'll make the soft bait of it." And he was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, perfect." But like you said, some people want to try to grab the whole market, and it's not even close to being feasible at all at any
mm-hmm.
point in time. And like I kind of thought that way too at first. Like I'm competing with so many people, but like really, people are creatures of habit, and that's what you got to break. You got to let them try it and really see. Oh man, this is the same product but more durable, and it's a small business. There's you just got to have some one up on it. The small
Mm-hmm.
business and veteran owned and having the integrity and doing it for the people, that is great, but the product still has to speak a little bit louder, you know?
Yeah.
And so I purposely do that. I really I get in on the product.
Yeah, that's it's funny because I started my podcast. I kind of thought the same thing. It's like there's a lot of veteran podcasts out there. It's not
Mhm.
like I'm, hey, everybody just come to me. I mean, that'd be great. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I mean, from what I've encountered, even already, the few the few podcasters I've actually talked to that are in the kind of the same space, I guess, a veteran one. They've always asked me like, well, what do you focus on? What's your main topic? I'm like, I don't really have a main topic. Well, my main thing is I just want to have veterans come on, like we're doing, just shooting the shit. We can. I was
Yeah.
like, because I told him I was like, it's depressing if we focus on, okay, just getting out and dealing with depression. Because I mean, who wants to just talk about that? I get it's an
Right.
issue.
We pay a
It's
therapist for that.
yeah, and it's an, I get it. Like I've told people it's an issue. Obviously the 22 suicides a day, that's massive, but
That's crazy.
sometimes it is. It's a huge number, and at the same time, a part of me also feels like if that's all I talked about, that's depressing as hell. And does
It
that
is.
really help? I'm not sure if that helps. Maybe that maybe
No,
makes it
bro.
worse for some folks. They're like,
For some
God,
folks, it is, man. Like AA, like whenever I was battling some addictive behaviors, my doctor was like, "Why don't you look at like AA meetings or NA meetings?" And I said, "Okay." And I just like peeped in for 2 seconds, and I was like, "I cannot do it." And he was like, "Hey, you
yep.
got a sponsor?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's my best friend who's a doctor. I will not." Nope, I won't do it. And before the addiction really hit hard, I got in front of it. I knew there would be an issue, so I went out and made it before I hit rock bottom. And then I took, in my own hands to get someone to talk to because it was a slippery slope for a little while. And talking about that stuff and just always harping on it is not good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. You don't want to push it off by any means and act like it's not there. That's one thing I did. I was like, my spouse, she's always like, uh, you can tell you're raging on this because it triggers you. You need to
Hmm.
confront that stuff from your childhood, from being beat or whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, but I would rather just forget about that it happened. But you can't, like it
Yeah.
happened for 18, 20 years. It is what it is. It's like any type of victim, it just, you got to find some type of peace or you'll never have any peace at all.
Yeah, and it's that's very true. That's something. I mean, now at 10 years out of the military, it took me a long time to come to grips with that. Even because, yeah, like you were saying, I mean, I've got down to some very dark places when I initially got out. Even, I mean, I could say even as recent as like 3 or 4 years ago, where I've been at that point where I'm like, holy crap, this is I'm like thinking some really dark shit right now.
Mhm.
Like I'm in this tunnel or in this hole. I'm just digging deeper and deeper and deeper every single freaking day, just living in my head. I mean, now that having kids and a family, it's like it totally changed my perspective on things. It's also kind of been like I guess the push I needed to realize I can't just live in the past. The past, it happened. If
Right.
whatever happened, it might have sucked. Certain things, aspects of it, things that occurred, but they've also made me the person I am today. So it's just looking forward. It's funny because I was just up at my parents' house and there's kind of a similar thing, I guess. Like my dad, he's like, man, if I could pick a moment in time to go back to, it'd be when I was in high school, because he was a jock too. He was really athletic. He's like, man, I was just like the man at my school. I
Right.
was like, and I was like, well, I was like, when I think about it now, I was like, I used to say stuff like that, but I told him, I was like, now if I when I talk about where I want to, or where like going either the past or the future, I'd rather go to the future, I guess, because I'm more curious to see what type of people my kids end up being.
Right.
Like I'm more excited about the future than sad about the past at this point
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah. Kids can
It's hard to
save
get
your
there.
life.
Yeah, it's hard to get there. A lot of folks, don't get there, and it's like those, like we were talking about. You can harp on the past all day and let it beat you up, but
Yeah.
that's what I.
Guilt is probably what the worst thing for me was just feeling guilty. Even as a kid, growing up, all my friends could do this and that, but I was always like spanked and grounded, and I mean like the craziest crap. We're homeschooled for like 10 years or more, and like I would feel like woe is me, and it
Mhm.
just I realized like it doesn't matter. You got to push through it and just figure it out. It took till like 26, bro, 27 for me to finally figure that out. And of course, I'm not perfect, but like, damn, man, like even stuff like how I was treated in the military, some people would be like, man, you're being a puss. But like, if you were in my shoes going through it, going through the addiction, going through the mental hardships, absolutely all parts combined, some people don't make it out of that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did though. It was a little rocky for a second. 4 years, 5 years of a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally know what you mean, but yeah, I mean it's awesome because now you got your kick-ass freaking fishing line here. Everything happens for a reason, like you were saying earlier. So um, and that's what I'm ultimately trying to do with my podcast. Also, I know everybody, like I was saying, loves to live in that. A lot of the podcasters I've talked to like to live on that certain niche part of it where it's talking about suicides and deaths and mental struggles, and that's all they talk about. But there's so much more to it. There's a lot of positives, even
Right.
like talking about how crappy it might have been for you, but look, it's made you to the person you are today in some shape or form,
Yeah.
where you're tackling a new business and
And I do like, man, I'm a full-time Medicare broker. I'm also trying to juggle being a family, like so working depending 40 to 65 hours a week. Plus, I get up 5, 6 a.m. to work on the baits until I clock in at 9:30. Then I work till 6, clock out, work on baits till 10 or 11 p.m. And then I go to bed and recycle, take care of 4 pets, 2 kids, and I cook most of the time. I mean, all that shit, clean and
Mhm.
everything. There's nothing, and then you got to juggle everything. The social media that I've never done. There's a lot of things that I could whine and cry about, and God, I want to probably do it. Maybe a good cry would be good sometime soon. I'm thinking homeschooling here in the next year, the way shit's going. Oh God, but like. It's all good though, like I never thought I would have thousands of people following my Instagram that quick. I never thought I would run into you and Adam and all these other people. I didn't think I'd have people fishing for me in a matter of 5, 6 months of the concept. It's been 5 months before since I had even the idea of doing it, right? And then
Mhm.
And then I've got just every single day I'm trying to think of something new. And that part's pretty hard, trying to think of something that other people haven't done. Like even like the packaging, right? So I put like gone but never forgotten on it. That's the back, and that's kind of like the whole purpose of it is everything's like kind of like a military thing. It's like it's a serious quote, but it's also a play on words, essentially. Like the baits are gone, but you'll never forget them because they're badass. But hey, I've lost a lot of buddies, and they're never forgotten. So it's like everything's kind of a two-way street with it, and I don't know. I think it could take off. I think so.
Yeah, I think it can, and I mean, I think it will. You seem like an extremely determined individual, so you'll make it happen. If anything,
I will force it.
You will force it into existence. I mean, that's the right mindset to have. So
yeah, the three of us will conquer the Burn Show.
Hopefully, I sure hope so.
Yeah, we'll keep preaching the good truth, and I mean that's just it. Let people see it for what it is, and because I'm not about that fugazi stuff and trying to hide crap. It is what it is. I've got my flaws, and I know everyone does. And I could lie all you want, you could sell yourself. I'm a salesman. I mean, like, essentially, my business and my brokerage and insurance. I'm a sales agent, but all that even that I do is by integrity, and I do pretty good at the insurance world. And I'm dealing with a bunch of elderly, angry people. And I gotta tell them the truth, and other people aren't, and I gotta outsell them by telling the truth. So I think it's actually made me a better person. As much as I hate insurance, but it's putting food on the table, and it's going to get this business started, and hopefully successful from ground up.
Yeah. Well, I sure hope it does, and yeah, I know it's late over there, so I'll let you crash out or continue working on your baits for the night. So thank you so much for taking some time today and jumping on with that 3-hour difference and sharing your story and a little bit about, or a lot about yourself and your experiences and your business and everything. It's awesome to hear, and that's why I'm doing this. Everybody that I've ever met and served with, everybody has a different story to some degree, and that's what I love about what I'm doing with this. I love hearing the stories because there's some things that are similar to mine and some things are very different.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think it's just easy to talk to a fellow service member versus a number of other folks. So,
and we could do an episode 2 where some crazy stuff can come out. You never want to scare people too much the first one. If the guys want to get real raw, we could get real raw and hear some, great stories that they want to hear. But hey, sometimes it's just about the PG, the normal stuff, essentially. You don't have to get the craziness. Everybody hears all these fugazi lie stories anyway. So if I tell it to you, that I had 9 shootouts doing armed security or got hit by 9 IEDs, man, the next guy could say that too. So just leave it out. It's not even fun anyways,
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm really wanting to do this Veterans Day week. I want to try to do like an episode, or even just I've thought about different ways of doing this. Having one episode with a number of people, because I can have a bunch of people on at the same time,
right?
Through here, or just an episode a day posted with different veterans, and just really have some fun with it. Shoot the shit a little bit more. Again, dive a little bit deeper into some stories if we have like you come back, because now if people listen to this episode, they'll know a little bit about you. So then the next one, you can just really, they're like, oh, we know about Austin. Yeah, what else has he got? So
what is he hiding?
Yeah. All right,
Thanks
brother.
for having me, brother.
All right, you take it easy.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you having me.
Show. Greatly appreciate you for tuning in, watching this podcast, or listening to it via Spotify or YouTube. Please like and subscribe below. Click on the alert button so anytime there's a new episode, you will find out. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.